Hi everyone, it's me Samuel, the man behind SmartyInk mask on Etsy. Today we're going to be discussing the making of masks. I never divulge my secrets to anyone, but I have been asked many times over and over to make a video showing what the process is and how to arrive to these beautiful women that you see here. Melina, Mortal Kombat, everyone knows her. She's pretty badass. We have the upcoming Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. You guys will be seeing the preview soon, I guess. Harley saw the preview, but I found the picture and I was able to make that cool mask. And of course, the Queen of Pop, Madonna, we have right here. And we will be focusing on the making of this mask because it's one of my bigger sellers on Etsy, and I feel that she's so gorgeous. Why not show everybody how she came to be? So welcome to my channel, and I hope you enjoy and maybe learn something. I know I've learned something from everyone I've watched, so hopefully I can be one of those people that can help out someone who's making masks out of latex, because I do not do silicone masks yet, but if I ever do, you'll be the first to know. This is the first of many videos, so I hope you enjoy them, and thank you for coming to watch the process. Cheers. Here we have some pics of when I originally sculpted this mask back in February of 22, I believe it was. So I'm lucky to have these pictures because I did not foresee myself making videos of mask making. So here we have some evidence of the clay sculpture I've made in wet clay. And you can see the mold process. I end up with a mold, standard hydrocal mold. Basically has burlap in it, about 8 layers. You can see it's Madonna. You have to label your molds because they all look the same. And this is the kind of latex I like to use. This Castex seems to come out smooth and it's like a powdery finish, as opposed to some of them that are chalky and stiff. This one mimics skin as much as it can for latex, in my opinion. I'm sure there's something else I haven't tried yet. Anybody has any comments on that, please leave them in the comment section because I will read, and I would love to learn some tricks from anybody who makes masks out there. I'm pouring it through a sifter because I tend to have lumps in the latex, so that prevents any lumps from going in the mask. You get a nice smooth, creamy latex pour for a nice, perfect dwell. I dwell a mask, filling it by only maybe 3/4 of the way to the top of the mold. I just find that I get a better consistency just moving it around. It's softer. I don't mind coming back every 15 minutes to give it a little turn. Once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. Or you can fill it to the top and just let it sit for an hour or however long you want to dwell your mask for. This is just the way I do it. It's my preference, and I don't like the latex to sit out and sort of get thick. So the more you have out, the more it's going to sit out and just thicken up over time with air. And I live in California, so you want to take note of the dryness here. It'll dry up your latex quickly and leave you lumpy and with a nice little film on top. Nobody wants that. So that's why I do it that way. Also, you want to pour that back in with the funnel. Don't do what I did and almost make a huge mess on the floor. That's why I have the pads all over, and this is why I also pour them on the ground, just in case. I like to get every bit of latex out of that mold because it will leave you with thick spots, and you just don't want to waste your latex like that. You want a nice evenly dwelled mask. So get as much as you can out without disturbing the other walls of latex that are going to want to pull out of there. And I place it upside down for about 10 to 12 minutes, sometimes 15, depending on how much latex I have left behind, just to get the excess out. And then we are left with this. little beauty here. Nice little light colored latex, ready for paint and any kind of adjustments. You can see I've already popped the holes through with a 10mm leather puncher and a hammer. Just punch it right through. Also cut the mouth hole, gave her some nostrils to breathe out of. This mask will fit right over your face, so you want to have air, of course. And there's ventilation holes on top for extra air. There's a wig there, so you want to have as much air flow as possible so you can breathe and be comfortable in the mask. These are the products I like to use. I use rubber cement to make rubber cement paints. It's very simple. You can find that anywhere, Rite Aid even. The thinners, I use solvents or N-heptane, and I get that on Amazon. And I use that as my thinner, and I make a nice little base coat of rubber cement to have a nice sort of base for my paint to stick to and have an even base. Sometimes latex will come out chalky on one side, smooth on the other for no apparent reason. So this will even you out, give you a nice starting base, and you can paint with confidence knowing it's going to look good and even all around. And I use a chip brush for this. Sometimes I dispose of them, sometimes I don't, depending on the mood. But they're cheap and they come in big boxes, so that's what we have here. Now we are airbrushing our skin tones on. We are using a rubber cement paint that I have made almost, I mean, this ratio is not exact, but it's to me 1 part oil paint, 1 part, maybe 2 parts rubber cement, and about 5 parts of the solvent. And that will leave you with a nice liquidy rubber cement paint that once it's on, it is not coming off. It becomes very permanent, very awesome, gives you awesome coverage, and it's quite forgiving. So I like this method of painting. It's the only one I've tried, and sometimes I use acrylic washes. It's very rare. If I'm making a monster maybe. I do use acrylic on the eyes because I'm covering them in epoxy resin, and they are safe from any harm that can happen to them. Here I'm adding some shadows in the creases with a paint that's just a little bit darker than the prior paint that I used. It's got a little more burnt sienna in it, so it creates a little bit of a warmer tone and livens up the skin. And next, we are done with the airbrushing, and we can now move on to some pastel, which is probably unusual for masks, but sometimes airbrushes can leave splatters and things like that you cannot just go back and repair. So I don't trust them all the time. It depends. I will do a little bit of blush with the airbrush and some eyeshadows, but for the most part I will deepen and make the color richer with some pastels. Pastels, once they're on a latex mask, don't seem to go anywhere. Even if you wipe them, they're just not coming off. They're pretty permanent. So it's safe to use. I've made about 50 masks using pastels, and everybody's mask seems to be holding up and everyone's happy with their look. So you can try this. I also try sometimes to give it a super light misting of a matte acrylic spray, because that will also just sort of set it. You don't want to coat it or wet your mask. It's almost like walking through the mist and lightly getting a coating on there. I feel that as if it adds a layer of protection. Could be me, that's just my method. You know, no one's saying it's proper or correct, but it's what I do and it seems to work, so that's what you're getting. And I keep adding some pinks and some purples, creating the depth of the eyeshadow and trying to make a nice, you know, beat here. I am not a makeup artist, but this is teaching me how to do makeup. Very cool. And we will keep going, adding browns, purples, and some warm tones just to make the skin come to life and add some depth around the eye. She has a deep eye socket, so we want to emphasize that and make it look like as much as Madonna as we can make her look. Now for the scary part, the painting of the eyes. The eyes, you don't want to ever use white. I don't use white. Although it looks white on film, it's actually a light gray with a touch of pink in there just to give it some life. These eyeballs are a little scary, but at the same time, acrylic paint can wipe right off of a latex mask, so you can, you know, breathe a little and not be so scared. If something goes wrong, grab a wet Q-tip, paper towel, whatever, comes right off. And just keep going. It starts to come to life, looks a little weird, but you'll see as the video goes on, every little step you do will make your mask look more lifelike and less awkward, alien looking. Now we're gonna paint the iris. I mixed some Vallejo, sort of light blue, and some white together. Get the soft blue eye color, and we start tracing out our iris. Taking deep breaths so that you can make nice round lines without making her look crazy. It starts to come to life. It looks so much better already. So I keep going here, applying. Vallejo gives me a nice, really smooth coverage compared to other acrylic paints that just don't seem to grab onto latex. So I use them constantly. My new favorite thing. So we keep painting. We're doing this one eye. Soon we'll move on to the other eye, following the same exact pattern. I have a nice wet filled brush. When it's nice and loaded, you can just get a nice smooth edge without having to worry about the micro bumps in latex that can catch the brush and give you spaces between your lines. Now I'm realizing that I completely did not hit record on the eyeliner process of this mask. I use a very tiny, small, little black liner brush that I bought a giant pack of disposables on Amazon. They're very fine. My brushes get beat up very quickly, so I can't count on always being extra sharp for these eyeliner applications. Black is another story. You can't really wipe that off cleanly, so you want to be so careful with the color black on acrylic, on latex paint. It will stain, so apply with caution and make sure it's even and always stop to just look in the camera, just look to make sure, double check. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me, so we'll move on with that. Okay, so let's apply Madonna's famous red lip. Again, not a paint that wipes away easily compared to all the other colors I've mistakenly had to wipe off. This one, you have to be safe again, hold your breath. This is what I do. I apply, I don't breathe, I get those nice lines, keep a loaded brush, same process as the eyeliner. It's all in the loaded brush. Also remember not to coat anything too thickly in acrylic paint because that's going to want to make it peel off. The thinner the layer, the better it is. So make sure it's saturated the first layer so that you don't have to apply over and over, creating a thick shell of acrylic on top of latex. Because latex bends and flexible and acrylic is not. So it's going to want to crack off and you don't want that. After we're done here, we will absolutely add a sealant, which is the same mixture I had made in the beginning to apply a base coat. It's rubber cement and about, I don't know, 4 parts more of the solvent or the rubber cement thinner, and that will give you a nice little coating that you can apply over the acrylic paint part of your mask, and that will keep it safe, keep it from cracking, and just make it last so you don't have to worry about it. Here I've mixed some light brown and maybe some sand color, forget what it was, and got a nice little eyebrow color here, not too dark, not too light. I'm using a fine liner. I'm just going in upward strokes, creating a nice little hair movement on top of the hair that's there. I try not to paint it solid so it doesn't look like a weird eyebrow, and we'll continue on with these brows until they're done. seal these eyebrows in and hopefully just move on to the next thing on the list, which is probably going to be hair and cutting off that little tab up top, which I use for handling. If you're wondering what that is, just a piece of flashing I left behind. I don't like touching the masks too much, so I try to use that when I'm touching them. Now we're going to seal the eyes with epoxy resin, 5-minute kind. And you just mix 1 to 1, equal parts, mix thoroughly. And I use a cheap disposable brush to apply it, brush it on the eyes and the little inner circle there on the eyeball, creating a nice little wet, glossy eye, adding more life to a mask. That's the whole point here. Just keep adding things that bring the mask to life. When I first started making masks, they did not look like this, but it took practice and just looking at them and realizing what's missing to know what to do the next time. Every time I make a mask, I just make it better and better. At least I try to. And that's the goal. Next, we're going to apply eyelashes. There's a variety of lashes out there. I just kind of pick and choose, and I apply and take off to make sure which ones look best. Whichever ones look weird, you know, they gotta go. So I use a silicone bond kind of thing that's like from Home Depot, and it really works well. It's silicone, clear, dries clear. I use a little applicator just to put it along the lash line here, and I will apply the lashes one at a time. Silicone dries quickly, so you want to do one at a time. You don't want to apply glue on both and then do them separately, because you will run out of time and the lash will not adhere. But once the lashes adhere to the face, it will not come off. You really will damage it trying to remove it. So make sure you have it where you want it, and everything will be looking the way it's supposed to. It already looks better. Lucky today. Bottom lashes are the same method as applying the top. Basically a thin line, even thinner, because the lashes on the bottom that I choose to apply are finer, they're more sparse, and they're shorter, so you don't want any globs or anything weird showing. Make sure you wipe with the Q-tip if you have excess, and it will be a-okay. She is all lashed up, and now we are going to finally cut this flashing off. It looks terrible, and we are ready. She's ready for hair. That's the inside. It's all smooth, ready for use, lashed up, painted up, sealed up, and ready to go. We will now apply the hair. I normally stitch on the hair, but I'm not going to stitch on camera. It's not exciting, it's boring. I add a stitch on each temple, one in the front of the hairline there, and I attach straps as well to the back with the buckle for securing and adjusting and all that good stuff. She's looking good. And this material mask is finally done. It was a long journey. Enjoy the show. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something today. I know I learn something every time I make something new. So I will show you guys everything I can possibly show you and share all my tricks that I've learned from everyone else on YouTube. Thank you very much, everyone else. That's about all I have today. So I hope you enjoyed. Here she is. Strike a pose. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Oh, and you need to subscribe and click the like button. Otherwise, I'm not a real YouTuber. Bye.